The positions that we hope to fill will allow us to continue the services that we are currently offering. Not being permitted to fill these positions, 2 of which are already funded in this year's budget, will likely lead to a reduction of services and hours, and the possibility that I will need to request additional trustees' holidays to close altogether on days when we do not have sufficient staff to open the main library safely. The need to reduce hours and possibly close for entire days puts us in an even more precarious position regarding receiving a waiver for state certification. We have already reduced our hours drastically due to our staffing cuts by eliminating evenings, Fridays, and that should be Sundays, I apologize. Closing for staffing and budget reasons, and not for the MBLC approved emergency reasons such as a COVID shutdown and snow, etc., put us in danger of not meeting the certification requirements of hours open per week, which are already relaxed. And then just a quick list of our current services that we are offering. Curbside pickup, curbside printing, curbside museum passes, curbside 3D printing, library takeout, grab and go crafts for all ages, and then this past week, our expanded library of things. Programming. Adult virtual programming continues with Professor Theo Harris's lectures, yoga, meditation, writing workshops, and upcoming job search programs. Other than grab and go crafts, the lack of a senior children's librarian and our staffing shortages mean that we are unable to offer virtual children's programming at this time. I hope that the mayor allows us to fill this position soon, because parents and teachers will need our early literacy, teacher professional development, and research and project help even more if PBD continues to be designated a red community. Building and grounds. The good news, the elevator passed its re-inspection. Hooray. Give it a week. So far, so good. And then on to the fun stuff, budget and state certification. I've attached the current budget for your review. Nothing's any concern. Everything's right where it should be percentage-wise. And then I submitted our state financial reporting to the MBLC, and President Najjar and I will be finalizing our letter requesting a waiver for certification. The following additional paperwork is due to the MBLC this Friday, and this is quoted from the MBLC website. The FY 2021 disproportionate cut worksheet, which I included in the email today, a letter or statement from a municipal official describing the budget process leading to the municipality's inability to meet the MAR, which is this is the amount of money that the state says that we need from our city, and then provides evidence that any reduction to the library's budget is not disproportionate relative to other budget changes in the overall municipal budget. One letter or statement from the library director and the library trustee chair explaining the library's FY21 budget process and reasons that the municipality did not meet the MAR, and then municipal budget documentation for FY20 and 2021 that shows the appropriation to each municipal department. I've included in this email today the disproportionate cut worksheet, which was filled out by City Finance Director Michael Gingras. The MBLC's calculations to determine the city's adjusted municipal budget takes additional numbers into account, and I was disappointed to learn that actually, according to the MBLC, the city's municipal budget actually increased this year by 0.5%. Our departmental budget decreased by 17.21%. With these final numbers, our budget needs to now increase by $226,000 to not be considered a disproportionate cut, which is obviously considerably more than I had previously believed we needed. I informed the mayor of this number last week, and he still hopes that enough funds can be added to our budget by the time the mayor, President Najjar, and I meet with the MBLC in January, and they vote on our waiver status in February. As a reminder, the MBLC looks at the net difference between the city's municipal budget, the plus 0.5%, and our cut, and if that difference, which is 17.72%, is greater than 5%, the petition for a waiver must be defended to the MBLC, and the greater the difference is, the much harder it is to receive a waiver. Assistant Director Hayden and I met with representatives from the MBLC last week. They reported that out of 350 municipalities that participate in the state certification program, only 50 to 60 have applied for a waiver this year. This is much less than they expected, and only around 50% of the applications received during the height of the 2009 financial crisis. I do not have information regarding how many of these applications are within that 5% safety zone and how many are facing disproportionate cuts. However, our situation is therefore not a common one. One of the few libraries that I know who are applying for a waiver in Noble, I know of 2 currently, they do not have a disproportionate cut, or their cities have guaranteed a transfer of funds needed to avoid having a disproportionate cut. So PBD is in, as far as I know, one of the worst positions in the Noble network. During our previous meeting, several trustees asked for language. Oh, the mayor has popped in. Hello, Mayor. Do you want me to finish, Stephanie, or should we let the mayor in now?
Pop in, yeah, of course.
Let me. promote him to panelist. And I will finish this in a couple minutes then.
Okay. I don't know how much time he has to give us, so we'll try to be quick for him.
Hello, Mayor.
Hi, Mayor.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi there.
Hi everyone. It's great to see everyone. Hope all of you are doing well. So, yeah, if you have a few minutes, I can jump right into it now. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk. I feel just so, I'm sure all of you do, we just feel like so disconnected through all this. And I thought it'd be great to kind of connect, kind of give you some updates and maybe talk through some issues. Happy to answer any questions and just kind of go from there. Is that okay?
Of course.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time. I just wanted to speak for a few minutes, kind of give a little update on where we stand and how I see things going. I think there's some misinformation out there and some different stories that are swirling around as typical, when we're unable to be connected as much as we typically are used to. But I just want to make sure that, there were some things that were clarified, or exactly where I stood on some things. Number one is I have no interest in closing any branches. I think there's some information out there that might be something that I'm looking to do. And I just want all of you to know that is so far from the truth and something that is not even on my radar screen. And it's really for two reasons. One, I've lived here all my life. I grew up right off of County Street. I was at the South Peabody branch quite often as a boy. That was, I can think of many times I was over there for different classes and different events and whatnot. And now, as a father, I'm bringing my kids to the West Branch quite often. I think if you ask your librarians over at the West Branch, you would hear that I'm there pretty often with my children. And I want them to be an avid reader like I am, and I know how important and essential the library is. So, I just didn't like that. I heard that from a couple of people that was of interest to me, and that this whole COVID-19 stuff that we're going through, that I'll talk to everybody in a moment about, was somehow a way for me to move forward with closing branches. The library has always been a great source of pride for me, for all of you. That's why you're involved, and the community. And I don't want to mess with that. And the second thing is, I've been mayor now coming up on 10 years, which is amazing for me to say. I was on the city council before that, graduated from the school system. I'm heavily invested in the city of Peabody. I have 4 children. I hope to be here the rest of my life, and I hope to be in this job for another number of years. This last 7 or 8 months have not been fun, but I love this job, and I'm so committed to the city of Peabody, like all of you. And I don't think it would be, it's not something that I want to be a part of my legacy, a part of anything that I'm working on, to be moving forward, trying to close branches in the city. We have three branches in Peabody. I know that's more than most, but I think that's important considering the size of our city, that we have 3 branches, so that we can really meet the needs and services of all the people in the city, no matter where in the city they live. And I don't think as a mayor that would be something that I would want to tackle. I don't think it would be good for getting future votes. Selfishly, if I look to close branches or try to shut things down, that's just not what I'm about. That's not what I'm looking to do. Certainly, COVID-19 has made things very challenging for us. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're not in a good situation right now, financially as a community. It's put pressure on all of us as city leaders, elected officials, department heads, staff, and residents. It just put so much pressure, and there's just so much frustration across the city. And it certainly put a strain on operations and trying to do the best we can for our residents who deserve so much. And certainly the governor's announcement today was not a good sign. Our numbers in Peabody have gone up pretty rapidly over the last few weeks. And then the governor's news today that he's putting a curfew on at 10 o'clock. I'm hearing that there might be other things coming down the line here in the next few weeks as well, which are not encouraging as to where we stand in the city. So I don't know, I can't put time frames on things yet. I can't put, I try to be optimistic in things, but I'm not getting a rosy outlook or really good timelines from our state leaders as to where we stand. We still don't have a set budget yet from the state. We haven't received a lot of the financial aid. They're talking about some cuts. Next day, they're talking about keeping the budgets the same. I just feel like it's different news we get all the time. I did take some action that I think is appropriate considering where we were at the time and made some difficult decisions. And it's always been with the hope that if we made some difficult decisions at the beginning, that would just allow us maybe to that much quicker get back to where we need to be. That's always been my hope. But we did lay off a number of people. Certainly at the library was affected, some of other departments, Council on Aging, Park and Recreation, some other places. But really what I asked for at the time was to lay off all part-timers. Most important thing for me at the time was to try to continue operations as best we could. I didn't want to lay people off who are full-time, who are getting salaries, and most importantly, getting health insurance. I didn't want to put our employees or or their families in difficult situations by laying people off that are benefited and putting them in difficult situations. So what I decided at the time back in March and April, and I know we've talked a little bit about this in past meetings, but was to try to alleviate those concerns from our full-time employees and just put it on our part-timers for now. And unfortunately, the library took a big hit on that because you have a number of part-time employees. But I am really committed. I'm committed to working with all of you, our excellent staff, Kate and Al, to try to make this work and try to get back to operations as fully as possible, as quickly as possible. But it is important for me to keep the 3 branches open, to keep them working for our residents. You know, there may be times we have to, you know, reduce some hours or maybe change some scheduling or things depending on how this goes here over the next weeks, months, years. But we need all 3 branches open, and I really want to be a part of that, working with you to be a part of that. Again, I don't want to, I can't promise anything at this point in terms of timeframes or whatever, but I know we have some major things coming up with the library. One is continuing the services that you guys have been doing a great job in over the last several months. And also we have the certification. We had a terrific meeting last week with Kate and Al and Stephanie, and tried to talk through some of these issues. I need to get a real sense from everybody where we were financially and where we were short and ways to help. But I want the certification. I know how important that is. I know how important that is for our residents, and you know, I want to be a part of making that happen. So we still have a lot of work ahead of us, but I think the most important thing is we need to stick together. I don't want to pit one department versus another department. I don't want to pit the library versus Council on Aging or Council on Aging versus the fire department. Unfortunately, each department right now is suffering a little bit. They're a little behind on, or a little bit unable to quite provide the services they were before. And the library is certainly fallen into that. But police and fire, obviously they're providing essential services, but the library provides essential services to so many residents in the city, from our children to our seniors. People need the library, and that's why it's important the work that you do. And I'm trying not, I do not want to mess with that at all. I do not want to impact that. I want to keep that going and making sure that Peabody Library is a part of Peabody long term. You know, we need the library, but I just don't want there to be confusion as to what my goals are and what my aims are. I mean, a lot of you are personal friends of mine. Some of you I don't know that well, but I hope you have some trust and faith in me that this is not the road I want to go down. And I wanted you to hear it from me as to where we stand going forward. I'm happy to come to meetings, you know, regularly to give updates as best we can. My finance team is very conservative, and they are not an optimistic group, so I certainly don't get great information from them very often. But you know, we're trying to make the best of it. Certainly, this news was not good because they're closing restaurants earlier now. You know, I think 9:30, which is going to affect meals tax and some of the other revenue that we rely on to fund our different services and things. But so the outlook is not rosy here, but I think we need to stick together, fight through this. And I just wanted you to hear from me, my commitment. I wanted it to be out in the public. I think we have an excellent team. I feel really good about Kate and Al's leadership, and we have terrific people working hard. And you know, I just want to work with all of you to try to make this happen, and to hear again directly from me. So I'm happy to answer any questions. The numbers, you know, putting the schools aside, the schools had a very little impact on the budget because of special ed costs and transportation and things of that nature. The school budget was not really impacted too much by COVID. There was a slight reduction, a couple of percentage points, but really it was the library, the Council on Aging, police and fire were each cut 7%. That's created some hardships for them as well. And certainly I hear from the chiefs who advocate as passionately as Kate does, and Kate does passionately advocate. She really works hard for the library and in a number of other departments as well. It's been difficult for me personally because this is not what I want. I don't want to cut park and recreation programs and performing arts. I don't want to cut the library services. The Council on Aging is so important to seniors, the counseling that goes on there. And a lot of times our seniors, the only contact they have is at the senior center. And that's kind of taken away right now. We have people that we've hired to check in just to make phone calls, just to see what's going on. But those are essential services as well. And, our Department of Public Works is having some difficulty as well, trying to keep things up because people are taking time away. They need vacation time. Obviously, mental health is an issue for all of us right now with the frustration and aggravation. So these are difficult times, but I really just want all of us to do the best we can to support one another. And again, I just wanted you to hear from me that I really want the library to be successful. I do not want to be a mayor or do not want to be an elected official that was a part of closing branches or, slashing services. There may be some difficult times over the years ahead that, we have to look at different things and maybe cutting a Saturday afternoon or Sundays or whatever the case may be. But really, we need a successful library and we need to provide those services to the residents. And I just want to work with all of you to make sure that happens and to do the best we can during these times.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Well, we take your word, whatever when you say you don't want to close the branches, I take you for your word, and I appreciate that. And you've said that before, and thank you for repeating that. I think just to offer the services, maybe you can speak a little bit because I don't think the board has been totally updated yet. Some of the positions that have become vacant, which are causing some difficulty for Kate to keep offering the basic services, just running curbside and some of the basic things that we wanted to run. And then coming into, vacations and that kind of thing. I know that was a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, so when we had met, all of you gave me a really good update on where things stand. And some of it I knew, some of it I didn't. I didn't realize some of the issues and some of the problems you were running into. So I think we were going to try to schedule a meeting later this week. Depending on the election, things might get a little crazy, but I want to try to schedule a meeting either later this week or first thing next week. Kate sent me a very detailed analysis of everything and kind of an update on what we need to keep the operations going as best we can. And I think we can come up with something for this to work. I know there's a bunch of money that's going to be needed down the line, and we're working on freeing that up to maintain that certification, as I mentioned, which is so important to all of us. But I want to keep operations going. Curbside is important to people. If school, we're trying to push forward on school right now. I think it's important for kids to be in school for a number of reasons. But, if our numbers keep going up and, depending on guidance from the state, that could be an issue with the future of school if we have to go full remote. And if we go full remote, there's going to be more put on the library. And that was very well said to me by Kate and Al and Steph. So, those things are factoring into to everything going forward. I know there's homeschooling going on, and the library performs an important service for those families. So, I know how essential the library is, and it helps so many people. So, yeah, I need to kind of review that some more, talk with all of you, but I really want to try to make that happen. I know there's some positions that need to be filled. We do have a hiring freeze on in the city right now, but I think for certain circumstances, in certain positions, nurses, custodians, and other positions that we need to put on for to continue essential services. That's what's important to me right now. I just want to try to fight through these next few months. Hopefully it's only a few months, and we can maybe start to get back into operation. So I think if we meet later this week or early next week, I think we can work some things out.
Great. Anyone else have a question for the mayor?
Just one, Stephanie. Your Honor, I wouldn't want your job right now for all the tea in China. I can appreciate how difficult it is. And it was good to hear that you're well aware of the certification issue. Because when that break, I don't need to speak for the people who have obviously spoken eloquently to you privately, and I know enough that if the certification problem isn't resolved in some period of time, that really puts a stick in our wheels. And it's just I'm just very glad to know that you're well aware of that. And I thank you for your concept of coming to us, spending some time with us, and working toward helping us out with that issue. I know it's very difficult, and there are no good answers sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. And yeah, it's been a rough stretch, certainly, but for all of us. But I want to be there for the library and for all of you. And there probably will come a time over the next few months where I'm going to need some help from you as elected leaders and as library leaders as well. Like, there's going to have to be some assistance that we seek from the city council and other people. So at some point here, I'll be reaching out to ask for your assistance also.
In regards to advocating, you mean, and just informing?
Informing, but also ultimately, depending on how finances go these next few months,
Yeah.
the city council, I can propose, but the city council is actually the one that appropriates the money. So
Right.
I'll be, if that's the direction we have to go in terms of, requiring it or requesting additional money, I'll need your help with the city council.
Mhm. Okay. I know, Kate gets it, and I think we all get it on the, just when we're out and about, you bump into people. I've had people email me, call me, asking questions about the library, about the branches and services and all that good stuff. So ultimately, and I'm sorry to say, but I think you end up being the last line of communication, because people will tell them what we can tell them, but ultimately they end up calling your office. And I hope, and with each meeting that passes, when people are home, maybe watching, it's going to give you a bigger influx of communication coming your way. So I appreciate that you are handling the end of things that can come to you regarding the library, because you're like that end stop of people when they want their voice to be heard. You're going to get that call.
Yep, and I've received some messages, not only from, elected officials like yourselves, but from a number of residents, and
Yeah.
they've been actually terrific messages.
Yeah.
Very polite, advocating for the library, courteous, and
Yeah.
and I've responded to all of them. But again, I was just hearing some misinformation that was out there and things, and I just wanted that, that was eating at me. I didn't want that narrative out there that's just not
Sure.
true, simply not true.
No,
So-
I don't know that any of us thought that, but because you have said in the past that was your goal anyway, to hopefully keep those open. We don't know when, and we understand that the timing is just something that you're not able to commit to, and none of us know what the future is going to bring over the next few months. So I appreciate the support, Mayor, and I appreciate you coming on to explain it, because you explain it the best anyway from your perspective. So I appreciate your time, and I know everyone feels the same way.
And thank you for everything that all of you do. It's important work. And again, to be the city that we want to continue to be, the library is a major part of it. So I'm happy to maybe be in a couple of months and we see how things go. I'd love to come back. But in the short term, I'll be meeting with Kate and Al and Steph. I'd like you to be there, and then we can kind of talk some of these things through.
Excellent.
Okay,
All right, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Mayor.
Mayor.
Have a good
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we are still, Kate, what are we on right now besides PATV? What else do we broadcast out to as a group? Do we on
Facebook as well right now, Facebook Live.
Facebook Live? Okay.
Yeah, on the PATV, and frequently these meetings are shared then through the various PBD community Facebook groups as well. People share them around.
I was curious how that worked, so.
Yeah.
I have a question, Kate.
Yep.
When they're on Facebook, see, I see a list of attendees.
Mhm.
They don't show up, do they?
No,
You know,
the attendees are the people who are actually signed in through Zoom right now, but PATV is actually just has this playing on their Facebook page, basically. So you don't see those people. We don't see
Okay,
those watching on
thank you.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when Kate posts the meeting every month, she has to put the link for Zoom because it's a public meeting. So people can log in via Zoom or they can just watch it live stream on Facebook, PATV's Facebook page. And I think, does it go on channel 8 too or no, the local channel? Or is it just Facebook?
It goes on local.
Local channel too, if you put on the TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if all the meetings were on channel 8. Anyway.
Okay.
So do you want to finish your report real quick?
Sure, I was almost done.
You were almost done.
I was almost done. Basically, at the end, and just during our previous meeting, several trustees asked for language for how you can talk about the cuts in the library. I included a document that explains our services provided to the community, the city's return on investment when funding the library, and what is at stake currently. President Ajar has sent you documents, some other documents with FAQs about the budget cuts and their effect on the library, along with a document of talking points. So you can discuss these budget cuts based on people's specific interests and as people ask you questions about what's going on. And then Audubon's really quickly, just so we can kind of put a pause on the Audubon's for now. I have not heard back from the city solicitor regarding the legal documents pertaining to the Audubon prints, and I will be following up.
Well,
The end.
Oh, thank you. The end.
Again.
Any questions specifically about the director's report for Kate?
Early on, oh, sorry,
Yeah, go ahead, of course. Go ahead, Ann.
Daphne, talked about the positions that were open or to be filled, and what are they, and when might they be filled?
So the meeting that we had with the mayor this past Thursday is when we discussed these positions, and then the meetings that we'll be having with him either this or next week hopefully will give us a better idea as if these positions can be filled. The positions are currently, we had 2 staff resign who have 2 part-time positions. One was our West Branch Children's Librarian position, and one was our archivist. And we have proposed to one of these positions is a union position, that the West Branch Children's Librarian position, 25 hours a week union position, and the archivist was 15 hours a week in non-union. We proposed kind of squishing those two hours together and turning that position into a senior local history and public services librarian. And a senior position because it would require an MLS with archives concentration to deal with our local history and archives collections. But the idea is because the West Branch is not open currently, this position would, for the time being at least, be at the main library doing primarily public services like we're all doing right now. But then with that archives and local history focus. So when the time they can, still preserve our collections and make sure things aren't disintegrating or molding away up in the Sutton room. And then when it becomes more appropriate, really introduce a lot of local history and genealogy programming that we have requests for all the time. And I don't anticipate that being a hard negotiation with the union because again, it's taking a union position that used to be 35 hours at the West that went down to 25 hours last year, and it's putting it back up to 35 hours. And then I just, it came in today after I sent you the report, but one of our librarians, our full-time librarians will be retiring in December. Our full-time technology librarian, Gail Desmond, will be retiring in December. So her position will be open, and we anticipate that being backfilled from among staff. So it's likely that there was just going to be a full-time position available when she retires, essentially, and that will have to be filled. And then this current budget's year, FY21, does not support and does not fund the senior children's librarian position, which is the position that Al had before she became assistant director. But that's the position that would essentially be added back into our budget. The 2 other ones are funded essentially right now, and just not the technology librarian is currently filled, but will become empty in December, but it is filled until the end of the year. And that senior local history librarian is essentially funded as the combination of those other 2 positions. And then we hope to add the senior children's librarian position back into the budget. So it's 3 positions really, only one of which is currently vacant, the other that will become vacant shortly. And then that 3rd position doesn't exist right now and it needs to exist again. With 3 full-time positions.
Yeah. So that's what we're hoping to get filled so that you can kind of run a little more at a
Yep.
normal pace and not have to worry about, and then have vacations or sick time or family leave or whatever is not going to be a detriment to running and keeping the library going at the pace.
We're kind of at the tipping point right now of, in terms of what's going on with just the staffing numbers and holidays, and everybody is very welcome and encouraged to take vacations because we're all miserable and it's the holidays. But with that and accommodations for different staff members and people being very conscientious about staying home when they are feeling ill and waiting for tests and quarantining correctly, we're really at the tipping point of, if things do not get better staffing wise, having to cut back on services. We're really at that point right now, where the current services we're offering are just, it's not sustainable with our level of staffing. It's getting really dicey, and we won't be able to add any services with those 3 staff members, but we will be able to keep things at their current level without having to take things away from patrons and taxpayers.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Kate? Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the director's report?
So moved.
Okay, Don, so moved. And a second?
Second.
Tom Pappas, okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, no
Aye.
opposed. No opposed. Okay, thank you. And Kate, I'm assuming I'm kind of jumping around. Do we have any receipt of communication?
No.
Okay, thank you. We had some previous minutes that you sent as attachments. We had the special meeting from September and the regular September minutes, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so do we have any comments or questions about that before we make a motion to accept?
Wait a minute. I always have something.
Okay, I was saying, Ian, you can't let us down. You have to have a question. That's
Let me
good.
just see if no,
Okay.
actually,
9, 8.
what?
Good one.
Actually, no. Everything looks okay.
All right, awesome.
As
Okay,
far as I can tell.
a motion to accept the special meeting minutes from September.
So moved.
Okay, second.
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 Rick, okay, all in favor?
Ah,
Aye.
Okay, no opposed. Thank you. And then do I hear a motion to accept the September regular meeting minutes?
yes,
So
so
moved.
moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Thank you. Okay,
I have a question.
yes,
These September meetings were taken by Madeline Firth.
yes.
And then later there was somewhere I read that we don't have a recording secretary anymore.
Yeah, so that was the last of the minutes.
What happened
Last
to
month.
Madeline Firth?
She had to resign her post. I'm not sure why. I don't know if Rick has any further information. He just stepped away for a second because he knows Madeline, but I think she was unable to continue the responsibility. So she stepped down and can no longer do it.
Oh, okay.
So actually, this is kind of a good time in the fact that a lot of people are working remote and maybe have the time or looking for extra work. So if anyone knows of anybody that wants to take minutes once a month for us, please send them my way or Kate's way. And I'd love to get someone that wants to join us and take the minutes. And what's the pay again, Kate? Is it $150?
$150 a meeting.
$150 a meeting. So not bad work for a couple hours, bad money for a couple hours. So Rick, we were just talking about Madeline's resignation from being a recording secretary.
Yes.
And if you know of anybody that would like to pick up a little part-time job, let us know.
I don't, but I'll ask around, but I think I'm 0 and 1 right now.
That's okay.
Right.
Well, we appreciated her while we had her, so that was great. So anyway, that's that. And okay, as far as, I don't think we have any other unfinished business at this point for today.
Oh. Excuse
I
me.
know Fran Galucci has something I think she wants to share regarding new business with us. So go ahead, Fran.
Oh, we're not doing committees?
Oh, we can do the committees. Excuse me. I skipped it. I didn't even see I need my glasses on. That's my problem. I don't have my glasses on. Reports of the committees. Okay, let's start with buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds has nothing other than I'm pleased the elevator passed inspection.
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, but is it still?
A little bit of good news is always good.
Yes.
Tom Pappas, the Peabody Historical Society.
I haven't had any contact, but I had some mailings this month, more than usual. I think people have time to do this. And I've seen 3 things that I forwarded to the whole trustees group here and Kate and Al. It was a visit to Shiprock was one of the things that they sent out. Did you know was another theme that they sent out. And let's party like it's 1897 was something else. So enjoy those. That's all the communications I have.
Okay, thank you. And the foundation?
Well, the foundation had a meeting on October 20, but given the situation, there isn't any activities. There are no activities planned, and we're just going to wait and see what happens.
Okay, I hear you. Personnel, John?
Nothing due to the situation or in keeping with the situation.
Right. Rick Audubon?
Nothing further at this time.
Yep. And I am forgetting about friends. Oh, Kate, thank you. Go ahead, Kate.
Nothing new yes, nothing new.
Let's do it this time. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept the reports of the committee?
So moved.
Okay, second. Kate O'Brien, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. No one's opposed. Thank you.
And my turn?
Yes, Fran, your turn. Thank you.
I have been approached by a couple of people on the Main Street collaborative of the city. They have reached out to the Peabody Garden Club, which I am a member, on decorating. Kate, do you know this yet?
I
Decorating.
did. I just received the email. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So we were asked to decorate the front of the library, specifically the iron fence, the wrought iron fence. And I'm here to hear your thoughts. I'll tell you my thoughts in a minute, and especially Kate, to hear what you think about this. But apparently the city would like to have some festive decor along Main Street during small business weekend and then throughout the month of December. So my thoughts were, in discussing this with a few garden club members, to have roping, either pine roping or definitely real greenery along the, like this, along the wrought iron fence, and then strategically placing some real wreaths with a bow, some sort of a plaid bow. And if possible, Home Depot has these really, really strong magnets. And I believe the front of the library door is glass. One magnet goes inside, one goes outside. The one that's outside has a hook, and we can put one big wreath with the same type bow on that. Other than that, and then I think they want it lit, but I don't have the specifics on that. So I just want to know what you think. It is no cost to the library. It is not asking for volunteers. The garden club and I believe the Main Street committee will take care of all of it. My other thought, if it really looks great, I can ask the garden club. We also decorate the Felton House every December. If you like the way it looks and you think it's a nice festive thing to do for the month of December, the garden club might like to help out and decorate the library for years to come.
I
So what do you
approve.
think?
Yes, yes, please. I am all for, I did receive that email. I just haven't gotten a chance to respond to it yet. I'm all for anything that makes us smile a little bit and doesn't cost money. So, you know,
Okay.
the concern is lighting. There's no power source on the near the fence. So that those would have to be battery packs, and I just worry that those wouldn't stick around very long.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about that lighting, and I'm not. I mean, you know, they might if this is a go and they do whatever they do with other businesses or lampposts or whatever. I really don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that the library has to be lit.
Right.
Probably just the lampposts that are up and down Peabody Square might be enough.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, you know,
I think it's great. I think would be delightful.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was wondering about one thing through the chair. I think that sounds wonderful, and I agree with Kate about the price is right, and it'll look good during the day. But I'm wondering, we have an asset in this beautiful frontage of this historic building. If we had that green outside, the city lights, the light posts, if we just had candles in those windows, because you're right, there is no light source outside, no electricity.
We do normally inside in the main reading room have I think battery powered and censored flickery window candles. But I can definitely look into next week when I'm back in the building, look into where we would place things in the front entry. And we do normally hang up big wreaths outside as well.
Oh, you
but
do
I
that
can-
yourself?
We do normally, yeah, we do that ourselves.
Do you do that on the front
Well,
door?
we'll take the free one.
Yeah, right. Seriously, that's an expensive purchase every
Yeah,
year.
what's the matter with you?
Okay, so you'll it's okay to do one on the front door.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that anything that makes it more cheerful and less depressing this time of year when it gets dark at
Absolutely,
2:30, I am
especially this year.
in favor of. And I
Yeah.
will look next week. And I think the candle idea is nice. It's more old timey.
It's very old fashioned. Yeah.
Theme. So I will next week when I'm back in, I will look at how placement of that would work. And we do have candles. I don't think they're necessarily strong enough to be seen from this street, but I can look into what it would take to purchase ones inside that are sparklier and brighter.
Mhm.
'Cause why not? I think it's a great idea. Thanks, Fran. I'm in.
All right, great.
Anyone
have
else have any,
Oh.
I don't know that we need to vote on that. Do we need to vote on decorating? I don't know. I don't think we have to vote on this. I just think, does anyone else have a concern? Does anyone have any reservations, or do you all feel like this is okay?
I
Okay,
think it's okay.
Good.
My idea.
Me too.
Thank
I
you.
think- and things that make people happy is a good thing right now. That's what I was, I
Okay.
like it. I was a big window box fan back in the day when we had those people come and they created those study groups with different people from the city about what we can do to improve downtown. And I was a big window box fan because you can decorate it for every single season. And it just makes you happy when you're walking down the street or driving down the street. It just looks nice.
Yeah.
And so
It's
this
a
is
feeling
nice
of
to hear.
well-being.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure thing.
So I will, when we get a little more information
Yeah.
between the city and whatever, I'll just let
Yeah, just
everybody.
let Kate know too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever, that's fine.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sure.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Tell them thank you. I know that's very nice of them. The FAQ packet that Kate sent out, or I sent you rather, this one. It is chock full of information. It's just to help you, I think for now anyway, to just help you understand. So we're all on the same page. We understand what the numbers mean. We understand, what's at risk. I'm actually really happy that the mayor asked us that he's going to say he's going to need some help down the road with the city council, because that's exactly what will have to happen in order to not become decertified. So I think just have open conversations with your friends, family, and the people you talk to, people you might want to call up who are library advocates, and just or people asking questions to you. I don't know about you folks, but I keep getting random questions about the library here and there from, friends you might talk to or be texting with or what have you. Go ahead, Ann.
As I read through Kate's report,
Mhm.
and also the business about the decertification, and
Mhm.
the public doesn't understand.
Right.
They don't have the information and these documents are powerful. I thought they were really, really good. What's lost and such, and what can we do as a board to mount a campaign to get the public isn't suffering a lot. They're suffering some, but my goodness, I looked at this report of all the wonderful things you're doing by providing this and that and the other thing. It's like, wait a minute. If you were to cut those things, then the public would feel it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
They're not feeling it any right now. You're exerting yourself in really trying to maintain a level of service to the public under these extraordinary circumstances. And it's like wait a minute. Let the public suffer some, and let them know why they're suffering.
Well, I think they are. I think they are noticing.
Documents are really great. So what can we do to mount a campaign to get more of the public sending emails to the mayor?
Well, do you have acquaintances and friends who use the library regularly?
Yeah.
I think we all do. So one of the ideas is you can strike up a conversation with them and just say, oh, this is, what's been happening. I have people that ask me, well, when are the branches opening, or, when's this, when's that? And that's when you need to refer to this information and start the conversation. It's kind of like a grassroots campaign. I mean, we can't,
exactly.
we can't put it on a billboard or anything, but we can.
Right. How about getting an article in the newspaper?
Well, I feel like we have
a really broad audience to say, you got this problem here.
Well, I think a lot of communities have a lot of problems with what's happening right now. I don't know if I'm ready to go throw something out into the.
Well, I don't know. From what I read from Kate's report, it seemed like we're in a rather peculiar situation.
Well, maybe one of the things that we do is have a positive influence when, like the bunting and all the holiday decorations. People feel good about seeing things as they go down Main Street, but they'll also see people at the library doing curbside with books, which is an unusual thing. And I think that's a real positive message it gives to the community, as opposed to stirring things up and creating any discord with the community. Putting a nice marketing message like that and actually being functional about it, of delivering books on the side of the road, I think is a good way to go, Ann, and trustees.
Or you can also say, we're working hard. We have curbside and we want to offer you more, and we're working hard toward getting that. We have we've been limited with our budget. We've had budget cuts. It's okay to say it. Everybody knows it. We've had budget cuts, extreme budget cuts
extreme. Our budget cuts were outrageous compared to the rest of the city's budget cuts.
Which is
that's something that the public needs to know.
Yeah. And it's true. I've been people.
We're going to be decertified, and that means we're going to lose all these services.
Yes.
We tell the public that.
Go ahead, Rick.
Why are we dancing around it?
Rick?
I'd just like to say, I don't disagree with Ann, but also the mayor just came on his own free time to explain that he's trying to work with us. I would consider it like an attack. And here he is coming to us and saying, hey, look, I know you've got a huge cut. I'm going to try and work with you. And he's being very positive, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Yeah, well, where's he going to get the money?
Well, that's
unknown at this
That's
time.
where, well, he made mention of us advocating. We're going to have to reach out to the city council at some point. I don't know if we're there yet because he's still working numbers. He's still waiting for state aid. I mean, everything is like a yo-yo in the budget department with the state as well. So he obviously didn't have that information for us right now, but I think we're going to have to reach out at some point. And I agree with Rick and Tom. I think we have to stay positive in our message. I don't want to, I don't want to incite this, fury and start to upset people that, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say as a positive message versus going negative. I agree with all of you in that. Go ahead, Peter.
I had a question for Kate. In regard to is curbside pickup, is there any changes planned to curbside pickup with the weather changing? I was just thinking about because it was snowing the other day, and I know it's just set up outside. It's going to be probably challenging as it gets colder and starts snowing to kind of continue the way we're doing it.
So the curbside, the way we had approached it over the summer and fall was we take the books outside and put them in people's trunks, which we thought was the safest for everybody because there weren't staff patrons approaching the building and like face-to-face interactions with staff. But obviously the weather is turning. So Al and I are working on trying to figure out where we can, and also part of the problem with the curbside that we're doing now is patrons have to make an appointment and then wait for us to come out to their car. And sometimes just a couple minute delay because we have to check out the books right there. And people are very patient, but we're trying to figure out a way to make it easier for everybody and safer for everyone. Possibly utilizing the children's room vestibule, the entryway there, and locking it off from the rest of the building. But basically people make an appointment and all the bags are out there waiting with their names on them. And then people can just park their cars and come in and get their books at their own leisure. Other libraries are doing this currently. Unfortunately, the layout of our library, it just isn't ideal for that because the best entryway to do this would be the courtyard entrance by the elevator, but then that's really hard to kind of cut off from the rest of the building, and that's our elevator lobby, and it gets complicated, and their front entrance is not ADA compliant. So that children's room entry is the only way to do it, but it is complicated because it's a small area. So we're trying to figure out a way to do that safely for everyone. That would make it easier for our staff, so our staff wouldn't be running in and out every 3 seconds. And then patrons be able to come on their own schedule and just go in and out as quickly as possible. But there are a lot of considerations that go along with that, like ventilation of the area and cleaning of the area when people are touching door handles. So it's not easy, but we're hoping that we can figure out a way to do that and help the staff a little bit. And that would free up staff a smidge to do a little bit more, but we'd still have to have staff basically manning the same shifts because people are the way this is working is some people make an appointment 2 days in advance, but mostly people get notifications that their items are ready and they make an appointment really quickly and show up 20 minutes later. So while we would like a system where we did not have to have 2 staff dedicated to curbside at all times, we still will have to because we're going to have staff constantly running bags in and out of that vestibule as stuff becomes available. So it doesn't really help our staffing availability in numbers, but it would help, I think, in terms of everybody's safety if we can figure out a safe way to do it. So we're trying. That was a roundabout way of saying we're trying.
Through the chair to Kate, just a recommendation. You're probably way ahead of me. If when the snow comes, which it's going to, and we're using the children's room, the mayor could certainly make sure that that's plowed more frequently.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, just
right now we are frequently kind of
do that.
We're frequently neglected when it comes to that. That is a city lot, and my custodians try to shovel and salt as much as possible, but we are frequently kind of last on the list in terms of when the city gets around to plowing it. Like I had to call DPS on Saturday at around 11 because my staff, it was 11 and this lot had not been plowed yet. And we had to call them to request for them to come out right then because it hadn't been taken care of. And that's kind of unacceptable. So yes, I think that if that's the service that we're able to do, it needs to be plowed. It needs to be plowed early in the morning for not just my staff safety, but patron safety. And yeah, that's definitely a good point because that lot is frequently ignored and forgotten about until we call and complain.
Well, I think that the mayor is sincere about helping us as we can. And this is something that he could easily do. And it'll be for safety and for the staff. So yeah, I would appreciate it if you would follow that, and I'm sure you will.
Absolutely, thank you. We hope to continue curbside. I mean, I think the curbside's working extremely well. I think that patrons love it. It's convenient. Obviously, in our heart of hearts, we wish you could be doing curbside at the branches as well for patron convenience. But with the staffing, we can't. Obviously, that's all we talk about. But I think curbside works really well, and we want to be able to continue it through the crummy weather. So yeah, we're trying to figure out every way we can do it to keep everybody safe and warm and toasty without have people slip sliding and getting pneumonia from running in and out. It's complicated though, but we're doing our best.
Stephanie, just through you, I just had a quick question, Kate, about the increase in the budget. Now, the new number is 226,000. Remind me what the former number was.
167.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the former number was based on just in my conversations with the MBLC before having this budget worksheet filled out. They had just talked about the general, difference between the municipal side cuts and your departmental cuts. But then when I had them fill out this worksheet, they take out the school department budget, which I was aware of, but they also take out a lot of other numbers, which I was not aware of, like debt service and other costs like workers' comp and health insurance and assessments and stuff that I honestly don't know what they are. But I trust the MLC. We kind of have to go by their numbers, but that basically ended up having the adjusted municipal budget be a positive change rather than a negative change like I had understood correctly. That's my fault. I didn't have the correct documents, and I was not aware that these other numbers were taken into account.
Sure, no, I understand that. So I assume the mayor is aware of that, and when he talks about preventing decertification, he understands that's what we're looking at.
Correct.
Good.
Yeah.
Where is this money going to come from?
Well, that's go ahead, Kate. I don't know if you want to answer that or.
I don't know.
I mean, it's the finance director. I mean, the mayor and the finance director and the city council know better than we do. I don't know where the money's going to come from. I don't know what their budget looks like. I don't know what their bank.
But it's such a big chunk of change.
It is.
I would just like to remind everybody though that citywide, it's not a big chunk of change.
Exactly. In the big scheme of the budget, it's not as it's a lot of money to us, of course, but like Kate said, in the big scheme of things with the size of our city's budget, it's not a lot of money, I guess, right?
It's not. Our total budget, you can see on the document, is less than 1% of the entire city's budget.
Right.
And this is like 10% of that. I mean, this is to us huge amounts of money, whether it's spent on, and I assume it would be split on staffing and operational stuff, not all put into staffing because that's more than we had before. But to us, it's a huge amount of money, and to the state, it's a huge amount of money, but to the city, it's not a huge amount of money. I think Al did the math that it's basically the equivalent of every Peabody resident buying 2 ice creams at Treadwell's. That's $226,000. Like it's.
So what's the problem with taking a little bit from each of the departments, go through there and put it together? And
well, I think that the mayor is very concerned with, he doesn't want to pit departments against each other, which I totally understand. He doesn't want to take from one department to give another department. So I'm not sure.
We can't answer for him, but I feel like the whole advocating thing, I'm a fan of advocating for the library. I just don't think we need to, I don't feel like going out with our guns blazing after tonight's meeting. And I feel like we need to bide a little time because he's trying to work this out. He wants to meet again at the end of the week or the beginning of next week. That's important. We have to, in the end, we have to work with them. I mean, that's what
are the budget numbers cast in concrete? Isn't that it? Or are they?
Through the chair, the mayor said that he's not aware of the final budget because that word hasn't come from the state. Also, all the different contributors to the tax base, half of them aren't. I'm not saying half, but a bunch of them aren't open. A bunch of them aren't being shopped in. So it's not that he's got the same amount of money to play with. But on the other hand, as we know, 226,000 compared to the other, whether it be the school, the fire department, the police department, is a small amount. I think we can advocate, just for assistance because of the services that the library provides, and that it won't go on unless we can get it. But I think that Rich is right, and I totally agree with Stephanie. We do not want to go in, well put, with guns blazing, because I think that when you come right down to it, as hard as this may be, and it's treason for a library trustee of 20 plus years to say, 2 firemen salary at 3 o'clock in the morning when my house is burning down, they have to set priorities. And it's sad, but we should be advocating properly. But starting a brouhaha is probably the last thing.
Exactly. And sharing the information is a good thing. And if you have a
Yeah.
relationship with someone in the city and you want to call and just have a decent conversation and just express your concerns and, and share your thoughts, that's what we should be doing all the time. I mean, I have conversations about this with people all the time, and that's great. But, as far as doing something publicly and going to the newspaper and all that, I don't think the time is right to do that personally. I
No.
think we need to work with the mayor. I believe him when he is, I mean, he's an advocate as well for the library. So I'm putting my trust there, and I'd like to continue to work with him, and Kate's continue to work with him. We're very upfront with each other, which I totally appreciate. There's no beating around the bush.
My question is, if he's such an advocate for the library, why did he let this budget go through like that? I mean, I'm
that's a question for him that I can't answer. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well,
You're
that's
right.
the
Yeah.
question.
You're right.
He's so determined that things. I think that Kate and her staff just deserve such accolades for all that they're doing. They're working so hard to provide so much service to the community. And I think maybe it's time to cut some of those things as you need to and let the community have a little pain.
I think at our current staffing levels, that will have to happen. At our current staffing levels, and it's not so people have a little pain, it's because it's not sustainable. At our current staffing levels,
right.
Around the holidays, I am gonna have to, if these positions don't get filled quickly, I'm gonna have to come to you to ask for more trustees holidays where we close down entirely.
That's right.
Because we can't have 4 people in the building, it's not safe. And
right.
Al and I can't be the only ones running the library the weeks of Christmas and New Year's because everybody takes time off, which they are welcome and encouraged to do, but it's not fair to any of us. We can't keep doing this.
There's a subtle way to get through to our, to the government. By all of a sudden people say, well, why can't I do this or why can't I do that? But you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. I will say though that the problem with shutting down for budgetary and staffing reasons is a big red flag for the MBLC. We met with about 4 people from the MBLC last week, and they were very clear that should not be happening. And so the way this this waiver process works is that it's the city that's applying for the waiver, not the library. It's the city that's applying and saying, please give us a waiver and give us a free ride this year and let us not meet the requirement of what you said we need to give the library because these are our extenuating circumstances. And so then Stephanie and myself and the mayor go before the board in January, and basically the city pleads their case. It's the mayor pleading his case. It's not us because we're kind of passive in this, unfortunately. We get what's given to us, Our job is to say this is what these cuts have done to us. And then the city and the mayor have to plead their case to the MBLC and saying this is why this was inevitable and this was we couldn't do any better and this is why this had to happen. And part of this process is they look at our previous budgets in previous years. They're going to look at, they have all of our data from previous years about the staffing and the positions that have been lost over the last couple of years, because the past 2 or 3 years, we've lost full-time positions every single year. This is not a new thing for us to lose positions. This has been chipping away for a while now. And they're also going to look at the average number of hours that we're open every week. And they do allow for some flexibility because of COVID and because of the pandemic. But if it is in our documents, which it will be, stating that we are closing because of staffing and budget cuts, that really looks bad to the city. The MBLC, when I explained the situation we were in, they looked shocked and they were like, you shouldn't even be talking about that. Like, that's just not acceptable. Right. So that having to do that is really, it gets us by short term and we can, keep the building safe, but it looks really bad for the city if we're having to shut down because we don't have enough staff to keep the building open and keep our basic services run. So that doesn't, it might have to happen, but it just makes it even harder for us to get a waiver
Yeah.
and to stay certified.
And
So
and
it's
that's,
the
well,
mayor who's on the hook. The mayor who's on the
Yep.
hook with MBLC.
Yeah, it's not the library. The library is not on the hook here because we don't have control over our budget. It's the city. It's the municipalities participate in the state aid program, not the library. It's the city. And so all the budget, all the petition that I sent in was on behalf of the municipality, on behalf of the city of Peabody, not on behalf of the library. It's the city that gets the waiver and the city that has to defend why they deserve a waiver and why this was unavoidable this year.
And through the chair, to Kate, I agree with what you're saying. And I think what usually changes public opinion, and especially as the mayor was quick to point out, and correctly so, it's the city council that works the budget and approves it. If some of their cousins and grandkids can't go to the library over Christmas break, and if some of the students are back from college and can't use the library, that will filter there. And that's what kind of moves the needle on that. And that's not being anything uncooperative or inappropriate with the mayor. It's the reality of it.
Right.
But when it begins to be fed back that way, that's when the change will probably come. And we want to stay on as good as ground as we can and just let the reality of the situation do it. But I know you're way ahead of me, but thank you.
And I think that thank you, Don. I think the other reality is that, as I mentioned in the report, we were hoping to make a decision this week about, and my goal was that we were going to open the main library for computer services, and we're not doing that now. We can't. We can't open for computer services. We can't open for any browsing, and we can't offer any services, curbside included, at the branches. And I think that alone, people have been waiting for us to make this decision. Local neighboring libraries are offering this now. Beverly is offering limited browsing inside. Danvers is starting to offer in a couple weeks. Wakefield is offering computer use. Reading is offering computer use. This is happening around us. Other libraries are opening up very carefully and very safely, and we are not. So because of these staffing issues, we are now falling behind in terms of the services that we should be providing. And I'm not a huge advocate for opening for browsing. I think our building is huge with lots of nooks and crannies, and it would be really hard to keep track of everybody safely. I have believed this whole time that opening for computer use is an extremely necessary and important service to give to the people of downtown Peabody. And Al and I had every intent of announcing in this meeting, we're doing it in 2 weeks, we're opening for computer use. We figured out a way to do it, but these staffing numbers make it, it's impossible.
Right.
So that's another big thing that we need to make sure. That is an unfortunate reality, that we are not able to open for any services in person, inside, or offer branch curbside through at least 2021, if not longer. And that's purely based on staffing, unfortunately.
which is why we want to continue that conversation with the mayor
Right.
next week to make, making clear what her needs are to him so that, might have it all happen. Who knows? Go ahead, Tom.
Might I ask Kate a question?
Yep.
So Kate, how about if we, just to brainstorm here, but can we have like time slots that our patrons can actually, probably schedule some time to come to the library where you can control who's in there and almost have it like a lottery where only a certain group of people you select, by random, can come in by appointment. Would that
So-
help to somehow start letting people in?
We can't. We don't have the
Okay.
people to do that. Every single
Okay.
person that's in so curbside serves about 50 people a day, which is huge numbers. Our circulation numbers, given that we're just having people check out books from the main library, we don't have services at the branches, are close to, I think, 65 or 75% of what they were a year ago, which is a lot. Our circulation is people are really, really, really using curbside, and it is a huge
Okay.
return on investment for us. Every single person that we have in the building, including Alan and myself, who have to keep the library going, are entirely busy with curbside services all day long, 8 hours a day. The amount
Okay.
of staff that we would need more people, frankly, to do letting people in, because you have to greet people and tell them the rules and offer masks and escort people around and clean up after them and help people find books. I mean, just the customer service and cleaning that's necessary. We simply don't have the bodies.
Okay.
That was our goal. I had wanted to open for computer use, and it would have been an hour at a time at the main library, appointment-based, very controlled, and very limited numbers of people. But that means that I would have to stop curbside. And honestly, curbside serves so many more
Sure.
people than computer use does. We just can't. And it breaks my heart because as a librarian, my goal is to, expand access to as many people as possible, and having to not allow this to happen is heartbreaking, but we just can't do it.
All right, thank you.
Kate O'Brien?
Do you think that if you were opening for a little bit of browsing, it would reduce some of that curbside? Because in theory, those people that were using curbside would be doing the browsing, and so it would level out at all, or?
I don't think so, actually. I think that the people that we've had requesting, there would be some overlap. I think that we have a lot of people who like curbside because of the convenience and because it's safe. And I think we still have a lot of patrons who don't feel that it's safe to come inside buildings, especially with PBD now being a red community, with kind of uncontrolled spread and the numbers going higher every week. Again, I think that in order to do that, we'd have to stop curbside. We'd have to cut out entire days of curbside and entire 50 people a day that wouldn't be served. There's just there's no way to run both services at the same time. And the problem is also our teen room is the quarantine room. So people couldn't really go in the teen room because the books that are airing out are in the teen room. And our children's room is where curbside is out of. So there's piles and piles of hundreds and bags of books in the children's room. So there's just no room in the children's room either. So you kind of have to do one or the other, and we don't have the staff to do that right now.
Rick? Go ahead.
Hey, the question I have is,
Yeah.
when you said circulation was like 75% of last year, does that count in your digital library?
Nope, that's just physical.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I have taken out barely any. I've used your curbside twice, and it was very nice. But I mean, I download books constantly. We can't track that.
Oh, we can, but that number doesn't include it. Yeah, all of our digital stuff the numbers are way up. All of our downloading stuff is like 50 to 100%. All of our different services are 50 to 100% greater than last year, year over year. It's heartbreaking. I would love to welcome people in. We can't.
Well, let's see how it goes the end of this week, beginning of next week. Let us know when that meeting happens.
Yeah.
And see if we've made any progress. Little steps, baby steps, I'm hoping, in the right direction.
Yep.
Kate?
I'm just wondering if there's like a different, like I know we're saying like we want all of these staff back and we need all this money, but is there a different like plan we could start to talk about or look at to say like we could get, if we got this much, we could offer these services? Yep. Just as like another
scenario.
Yes, just, to say, and I know certification is that huge piece, but right now for the mayor to say like, if we could get like, you could fill these positions that are already funded, we could do X, Y, and Z. Like,
so the filling of the 2 positions and the adding back of the senior children's librarian position would simply allow us to keep doing what we're doing and add some virtual children's programming. In order to add curbside at the branches or main library computer use, because you're kind of looking at one or the other right now, that would be about an additional $80,000 of hiring part-time aides. But I don't think that that's going to happen. That's hiring back like 4 or 5 people. We've, every little bit that the city would be able to transfer us does show that they're acting in good faith to the MBLC, and that gets us a little bit closer. I have proposed to the mayor before that, $80,000, $90,000, whatever it was, of hiring back the part-time aides to allow us to expand services. But in the past, it hasn't really been an option. It's certainly something that I can propose again to him. I think the goal right now is to get these 3 full-time positions that are or will be vacant filled, because full-time people are really helpful right now to work 5 days a week. But in the future, Al and I are wondering if giving the mayor, like you suggested, these kind of smaller increments is a little bit less painful than $225,000. That's a huge chunk of change. But if we can do $40,000 here and $80,000 here, it might be a little bit more palatable. Right. I just don't know how open
attaching it to something like
right, exactly, the specific outcome
would get us these services.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
I wonder
absolutely.
if that would be helpful and would help us move into those small.
I would love to. Yeah,
easy to digest for the city and slowly get us?
My only concern is that I absolutely agree that these smaller, focused increments to get to a specific outcome are absolutely the way to do this, I think. My concern is that hiring back part-time people, because the mayor did say there's a hiring freeze right now. I worry that the city council would not be amenable to hiring back part-time people, but that's what we need to offer anything more. But yes, I'm absolutely, my goal right now is to get these 3 positions through and at least posted, and we can start to try to fill them. And then after that, go for the kind of smaller chunks of change that can I mean, I say small, they're not small, but these lesser chunks of money that have specific outcomes in mind to get us towards that goal. And then the goal after these 3 positions is part-time people back. But the timing on that, I have no idea what the timing on any of this is, because everything just keeps getting drawn out and taking longer and longer and longer. So.
Well, thank you, Kate. All right, I guess if there's nothing else, we need to plan our next meeting, right?
Holiday.
No, I'm sorry?
I was joking, the holiday meeting.
I know, me too. I know we don't get to have our special little meeting this year.
Hey, the Burger King parking lot's available. We get the cars real close together.
They gotta be 6 feet apart.
And the burger's down.
Well, the first Monday of December is December 7th.
Okay.
December 7th at 7.
Pearl Harbor Day.
Yep.
Okay. Great. And then Kate can hopefully give us another update on.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Ann has a question.
it'll probably be a shorter meeting. Go ahead, Ann.
What are we doing about the question of who's taking the minutes?
I'm doing that tonight.
Bria, she's
Believe
our
it or
official
not.
secretary, so I asked her and she kindly said yes.
I see, okay.
And I'm gonna make a couple of phone calls and try to see if
Oh,
there's.
wait a minute. Ian, I thought you were doing it tonight.
Oh, heck, no. Taking any notes?
She's joking.
I know, it came up in the,
Yeah.
I get it. Okay,
Thank you.
so
okay.
So December 7th, next month at 7:00 p.m. And I thank you all for your contribution and have a great evening.
do you need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, everyone, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.